Niall McGrath here for SevereMMA.com. Over the fantastic world of Skype, it is Mr. Paul Craig, who has been signed by the UFC this week. Paul, first of all, big congratulations on the announcement. Obviously, a fight coming up, UFC Sacramento against Henrique da Silva. First of all, Paul, it must be unbelievable feeling. This is what you've been working towards your whole career. It must be fantastic. Yep. How are you feeling, mate?
It's set in, it's sunk in, but it hasn't sunk in. There's still this sort of like, something's about to happen and somebody's going to just give me a shake and say, yeah man, we're just winding you up. This is just all a joke. We got ya.
Tell me exactly how you found out. What was the process? Did you just tell me off air that you got a phone call, you might have been a bit worried, you thought it was something, an emergency, something like that?
Yeah, we had myself and my coach had been away training down England, which it's about a 10-hour drive. So we'd been training. We just got home like the Monday, so I didn't go to the gym the Tuesday night because I was a bit knackered. So it's about 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and I went to get a glass of water. I had locked up the house, and then my partner came running downstairs, and she's like, "Paul, something's up. Brian's phoned." Brian's my coach. Answered and I said, "Brian, what's up?" I was actually panicking because like I wasn't sure what had happened, and he said, "What are you doing 17th of December?" And at that point it was like, this is the UFC, and I just was like, "You are winding me up." And he's like, "No, Paul." The word I actually said was, "You are shitting me," but I'm not going to say that live, but I did. So he said that we then had to do all the paperwork, and it was just this really surreal moment of like, yeah, it's actually happening. Everything you've worked towards is like, it's there. And then thanks to BAMMA for releasing me from my contract early. I had like 2 weeks left in my contract, and if we'd seen the contract out, UFC had said, "We're not sure if that fight's going to be there in 2 weeks." Okay. So we had to do a lot of messaging, phone calls, people to get this release letter from BAMMA, and they were great. They were like, "Listen, we're not going to hold you back. So there you go, send it straight over." And then just this like weird, or like, it's surreal because there's people phoning you for America for like a Las Vegas phone number, you're then sending you these like PowerPoints to watch, and it's like there's a bit it's like this video and the guy says like the end bit was challenge accepted, and I'm in my dining room and I'm like, yes, like screaming at the top of my lungs. It's surreal. And then like,
class,
it get leaked, my fight get leaked. Somebody had posted something on one of the social media sites, and it just went mental, and everybody was messaging me, and I couldn't say anything. I wanted to be shouting for the like rooftop saying, "Yeah, man, I've signed for the UFC," but I couldn't. So, and then
you can today. It's out there today, so you must be buzzing. Tell me about, obviously you said there with BAMMA. Was that the first initial contact your management team and yourself had with the UFC? Because I remember after the Carl Moore fight in Dublin, you were pretty confident there might have been contact then. That was at BAMMA 24, I believe. In
23 I never had, in 24 I won my title. So BAMMA 22,
yeah.
Chris, Carl Moore. Carl Moore was like this big prospect, and everybody had like sort of said, "Nah, the big guy's getting done in. He's not fought MD." And then I'd like done away with Carl Moore in the second round submission. I wanted the UFC at that point, but we never got that call. We did get offered to go to the tough tryouts.
Yeah.
To go win the house, and it was a light heavyweight. I'm not even sure who won that. But we were under contract with
Eddie Gordon,
and we could have went to do the tough house, and we could have done all the sort of fights in there, but we spoke about it, and the tough's a bit of a lottery. The best guy never wins.
Yeah.
And it's usually like the guys who like the last 2 or 3 are usually the guys who are like top, but the best guy never wins. So we said, right, we'll set our sights on getting the BAMMA title. That'll give us some credentials within the world of MMA, because people were still doubting my abilities, and I've always had that. I've always had this, he's lucky. When I first started, I was just a Jets guy who could fight. He's just a Jets guy, and people are starting to like sort of get behind me now. And the love I've felt for Scotland's been amazing.
Brilliant.
My Twitter, my Facebook, my Instagram's just been going off its nut, and it's a nightmare to try and go through every single media site. And I've probably missed people, and I apologise if I've missed some people, but I will get to you eventually.
Paul, obviously you had to pull out of the fight against Chris Fields that was scheduled here for in Dublin, BAMMA 26. How is the knee? Is everything healed up?
It wasn't my knee, it was my ankle.
Okay.
What had happened was I had got my foot trapped between the cage and the mat, and as my teammate was pushing forward to do a takedown, he was turning the corner, my foot just twisted the wrong way and it ripped. You know when you know.
Yeah, of course.
And I was like, oh. So I'd said, I never told him at that point because I really wanted to fight with Chris Fields because I seen it. It was a scalp basically. It was I get to beat up my guy and just keep myself active. So I wanted that fight because it was a nice easy fight. I could have done that in the first round, built my record up, built my profile up, all that kind of stuff. I went home, I iced it. I then phoned my physio, and I was speaking to Ricky, and Ricky had put the ultrasound machine on it, and it sends like a vibration through your foot. And the fact that this was like there was a lot of pain there, he said there was something serious there. So we spent like the next 3 or 4 days, and I hadn't been in training. I'd told my coach I was sick. I told him I wasn't feeling very well. Probably not the wisest idea, but I just wanted to see if I could fix this myself, because I knew the minute I told my coach and the guys on the team that the fight would have been off. So I kept it to myself for about a week. It happened on Tuesday, and I come back the following week, and I said to my coach, it's a no-go. I've been icing this every night. I've been having salt baths, ice baths, been going to physio, been getting acupuncture, been getting ultrasound, getting all this different stuff to try and heal it, and we couldn't go into the fight ill-prepared. When you're this close to, like, when you're the champion for BAMMA, and you're this close to the UFC, and we knew we were close. You can't risk going into a fight with an injury like that. We probably could have still beat him. I'm quite confident in that. Maybe not flung any kicks, but just movement would have been shot, and I would have to have resorted to like trying to outbox him without actually moving my head and moving my feet, because I couldn't really do the movement. And then even submissions, getting him to the ground would be hard as well. So I spoke to my coach and spoke to my team, and they said, listen, Paul, it's not worth it. And I got a bit of stick, and I felt really bad because I kind of let that BAMMA card down, and I feel like I let people down, and I hate, one of the things about me is I hate letting people down. So I felt pretty bad, and then we tried to reschedule it again, and it just wasn't happening. And then my contract's up, so it was just the next step was to go to the UFC, and the UFC came through, which was pretty cool.
What? Obviously, great news. What's the details of the contract in relation to? Have you signed a 3-fight deal, a 5-fight deal?
I've signed a 4-fight deal.
Four-fight deal.
What I've signed. My first fight will be the 17th of December, in Sacramento.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I'm not.
You looking forward to that?
Not even one of these European cards. It's a fight night. I get to see Paige Van Zandt and fanboy, and I get to check out what's his name. The good-looking wee fella, what's his name?
Sage Northcutt.
Sage Northcutt. I get to see his rocking abs. So I can't ask for a better card than that.
Yeah, definitely. It's a stacked card, man. Some really good fights on it. I'm really looking forward to the fight card. Let's talk about that. Your opponent, Henrique de Silva. He's an unbeaten guy as well. I think he's 12-13-0, 2-0 in the UFC. You're unbeaten in the UFC. What are you expecting from this guy?
Been a bit mental there.
What are you expecting from Henrique de Silva in this fight? He's unbeaten, you're unbeaten. Something's got to give.
Yeah. So, great line, someone's O has got to go. So, his O's going to have to go, because I haven't worked this hard just to get to the point I want to be in for somebody just to take it away from me. I never research any of my opponents. I never watch any of their videos. I don't see the point of doing that. And then have this sort of thing in the back saying, oh, what if he kicks me this certain way, what he's been doing, he always does this, maybe he does a 1-2 high kick, and I'm constantly waiting for that 1-2 high kick, and he peppers my front leg, and then because I've been waiting in that one shot, I've been apprehensive. So I fight the fight that I need to fight. I fight my fight.
Paul, we look at the heavyweight division in Europe, and I know a lot of guys have pulled out in fights, and you in the past, you found it hard to get fights as well. Obviously, the next step was the UFC. Do you feel there's a lack of depth possibly in Europe of real high caliber light heavyweights like yourself?
I don't think so. UFC have recently signed another British boy. Is it Clamp?
Clamp, yeah, they signed a lot of guys recently in the last couple of months.
Signed and they've picked up a lot of people. They've picked up Mark Godbeer as well.
Yeah,
He's fighting on the Ireland card as well. So the guys are there, but it's getting noticed. It's getting noticed is the issue, and everybody's sort of fighting for this contract, and everybody's
what do you think
battling each other.
What do you think you found it so hard to get fights? Were people fearing your ability, your unbeaten record? What was the situation there? What's your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on me not getting fights, I think it was, I really don't know, because we went for the hard fights. It wasn't as if we had said, oh, we're going to take this easy fight. We looked at the top 10 in Europe and the UK and we said, right, this guy's next, this is the guy we want. We then contacted promoters and promoters were putting it on, and then within about a month they were pulling out. I was meant to fight Brett McDermott as my first pro fight. Brett is an animal. Brett is knocking folk out left, right and centre. He's got 2 big grenades attached to his hands. He went out and fought in Risen. Unfortunately didn't get the win, but he's still fighting these shows. So I was meant to fight him as my very first pro fight. He damaged his foot, and that's what happens. People get injured, and I'm not saying any of these guys were not legit. I believe they're all legit injuries, but you can only fight with who's put in front of you. And unfortunately, that's one of the reasons why I don't look at my opponent, because I've had that many pullouts. You imagine training for a southpaw, and I'm just going to put this light on. Is that better?
Yeah.
You imagine training for a southpaw, and you then end up with a guy who's orthodox, and you've done all this training for a southpaw. So I focus on what I'm going to do. So that's what he should be worried about. What I'm going to do.
Paul,
I don't even know what I'm going to do now.
Are you a guy who you know do you watch fights as a fan? Do you watch the UFC?
I am probably the worst MMA guy about. I've got an MMA podcast. I've got an MMA podcast called Bareback, and my MMA knowledge would blow your mind. It's not there. I know a few fighters. I do know a few fighters, but my knowledge just isn't there. I don't watch MMA. I prefer to do it. That's like a UFC card's about 5 hours long. That's 5 hours I could be
generally,
training. That's 5 hours I could be spending time with my family, or 5 hours I could be with my friends. I do watch big fights, like the last one I stayed up for was the Henderson card. Yeah. And it was a great card. It was a really good card. But I get bored watching it.
Try covering it at 6 o'clock in the morning in the arena. Not fun.
Yeah,
we were over there. It wasn't fun. Lots of coffee, man, and trying to stay awake. But I was going to say to you, maybe that is that for you. Maybe a benefit, because you know the perception of the UFC light heavyweight division would be, you know, there's 7 or 8 guys that are really sort of in contention. It'd be a little less deep than the other divisions, I think, in the UFC. Is that maybe a benefit for you going in? You know, you don't have to, as you said, you don't have to look at an opponent and think he's going to do this or do that, and you're going to go in and implement your game if you don't, watch the fights or think like that and focus on yourself.
Yeah, like I know nothing about the guy I'm fighting. I really do. Somebody called him Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Is that his nickname? Is Frankenstein?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Henrique de Silva.
So I have no idea. Like that's about as much of my knowledge as as I've seen. I've seen a picture of him because they posted it with him.
Yeah,
he's standing, he's flexing up, he's looking. But I think that's a good thing that I'm not. I fight my own fight as well with regards to I don't see somebody, like I don't watch, for instance, Daniel Cormier and go, that's how I want to fight. Like I've got my own style. It works for me, and why change something that's been working for you for 8 fights?
Definitely.
And then like whatever my amateur career was as well.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I forget actually what my record is. We were sitting down having a coffee with my coach and he went, Paul, what is your record? And I said, I really don't know. And then we had to run through some of these fights, and I was like, I'm just taking this ride. That's it. My coach has got a brilliant saying. He says, it's about the journey, not the destination.
There you go.
So I just kind of live for the moment. I don't kind of look too far into the future and be like, but I know what is in my future. I'm definitely fighting for that title. I've got another story as well. We got a message from a management team, and they're asking me like, listen, these are the guys we look after. Yeah. We'd like you to come and train over here and all this kind of stuff. All these kind of cool things.
To go abroad,
to my coach. And I said, Coach, who would you, if you had to go to America, who would you want to train with? And I thought I said, like, what about like John Jones and all that, and fighting in these gyms? And he says, no, why you want to go there? And I said, well, he's like the best. And he says, well, I said, why you want to go and train with the guy you're going to beat? That's my coach's attitude. It's magic. So that's the guy I'm going to beat. John Jones, he's going to get his belt back, and I'm hunting for him. I'm fighting a top 19 guy. It's my first fight in the UFC, which is pretty cool. I like that.
It obviously thinks the UFC think highly of you already.
Yeah, I hope. I spoke to a few guys through the UFC, and they sort of like my story, where I'm like this high school teacher, Monday to Friday. I'm juggling this like family life, school life, as well as doing my full-time training. So I have got quite a hard routine.
Definitely.
And I've managed to get this far with being a full-time fighter, full-time teacher, and full-time family.
I was going to ask you about that. How have the kids reacted to the news? Obviously, you know, your vocational teacher and stuff. What's the response been like from them this week? And it's a double-ended question. You know, is there a general sort of mainstream? Do you feel as though maybe the kids are doing different forms of martial arts, or has there been an increase since they've heard your story or know that you're a mixed martial artist yourself?
Yeah, the kids, it's weird because like the kids all know all my information. They like very first thing the kids do as soon as I tell them, I can't hide the fact that I'm an MMA fighter. So I tell them about it rather than me try to hide this from them. I tell them about it, and then they just go in and research, and they'll come in and they'll ask me questions, and they'll research all my opponents. So they'll say, Paul, have you got a fight lined up? And that's all I've had off them for like the last 6 months. When's your next fight? When's your next fight? When's your next fight? With regards to these guys, the kids are actually, a few of the kids have turned up to the gym. Brilliant. Just because they're interested in learning. Now, I can't stop any kid like, I couldn't say, like, no, you can't come here because I train here.
Oh, 100%.
That'd be like, really nasty. So, they come in, they do the classes, I speak to them, and I sort of, it's just a weird, there's my girls in that back, they were just in getting the McDonald's. So, it's they love it. They really do love it. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Do you want to dive down to Tesco? So, sorry. Hi, Amy Galley. Did you get chippies? And a balloon. Sorry.
You're fine, no problem, man. No worries.
So, yeah, the kids love it. MMA within Scotland is going to get bigger.
Yeah.
It's going to get a lot bigger. You know, that's 3 people in the UFC now for Scotland. We had 4. Robert Whiteford's obviously been taken out. So,
you got your cheeseburger?
So, yeah, definitely UFC, MMA within Scotland is getting bigger. The kids are enjoying it. The kids are very respectful. They look at me as this positive role model. Like, I didn't come from like a rich family. I came from like a council estate, and they sort of look at me as this positive role model, and they've got like a destination. If they want to go, it's achievable. I've done it in 4 years. I started doing this messing about 4.5 years ago.
Yeah,
I had no idea that I would be in the UFC, and then I found that I really enjoyed it. So there's opportunities for kids out there, and the whole thing that goes along with martial arts, boxing, all these kind of sports, it's the discipline side, it's the respect side, and there's loads of good positive things about MMA. And I know in the past it's a bit of a bad rap for being this sort of brutal sport. Cage fighting, he's fighting a cage. Animals fighting a cage. But that's changing, and now the people can see that it's a sport and it's highly technical.
Yeah.
And guys like Conor McGregor have made a massive impact in the European market, even the world. People know, like one of the kids said to me, "Oh, Paul, I was watching that Conor McGregor show last night." It wasn't a Conor McGregor show. It was a UFC press conference. But he's turned into the McGregor show. He's just sold himself very, very well.
And I'm sure you'll do the same as well.
I believe I probably could, man. I believe like I've got the ability to talk. Definitely. And I've got the ability to back it up with the fighting skills. So I would like to think like I'm in the same boat as Conor McGregor. You know, life-changing fights. That's what I want. I want to change my life. I want to change my family's life, and I want to change people's lives around about me. If I could like take the full group of guys I've got now and look after them, build a big farm, build a big ranch, and we just all train together and we just come together at the end of the night and have this meal. That's what I want.
That's what it's all about. 2 more for you before I let you go. Obviously, for you, you've mentioned, the kids and the school and the teaching, how much you love it. Is that something maybe now that you're in the UFC you might have to say, focus on the fighting 100% and maybe quit that? Is that coming into your mind, or what's the situation going to be there?
Yeah, I love my job. I've got the best job in the world. I wake up on Monday morning happy to go to
Brilliant.
work. I really do. The only downside is it's recovery for me. It's really hard to recover when you're like, I got up 5:10 every morning. I'm up. I'll do like 20 minutes of yoga. Then I'll go to the gym and I'll lift weights if it's heavy. Compound lifts, or if it's conditioning, or if it's running, and then I'll go and I'll do jiu-jitsu, boxing. So before I've even went to work, I've already done like 2.5-3 hours of training, and then it would be good just to go home, get fueled up, go to bed, have a rest, and then do it again. I can't do that. I've got to go in and I've got to be ready to teach lessons and go. That's my normal day. I'm in there, I'm in work for 8:30 every day, and then I don't finish till like 3:30, 4 o'clock, and then I need to go straight back to the gym and do it all. I live out of Tupperware boxes. Just plastic tubs is what I eat out of, just because I don't have time to sit down and eat a meal. And then if I'm not in the gym or if I'm not working, I'm spending time with my family.
Of course.
It's a boring life I've got. It's a tough life, but I enjoy it, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Like, this is what I want. If you had to ask my partner if you'd change it for the world, she'd probably say aye. Like, I'm fed up with him being out all the time. But with regards to the job, I do enjoy it. I really enjoy my job, and it wouldn't be fair me to just say, you know what, because I've made the UFC, I'm not going to change lives. And it sounds a bit cheesy when I say changing lives. It does. It sounds like I'm.
Well, it is. It's a game changer.
If I can change one person's, out of a class of 30, if I could change one person and turn them around to do something positive with their life, then I've won.
Brilliant.
That's good.
Fantastic attitude. I'd love if more fighters had that sort of attitude. It's wonderful to hear, Paul. Paul, last one for you. You're going to start your exploitation of the light heavyweight division on December 17th against Henrique de Silva. Are we going to see one of those fantastic submissions? How's it going to go?
Well, I heard there's like, you get a couple of extra shekels if you get a submission in the night.
Indeed you do. 50 G's,
so
baby.
I think everybody wants one of these, because that kind of money is life changing to everybody. So yeah, I think he'll be getting triangled. He takes me to the ground, no matter what happens, he's getting subbed. That's what's going to happen. If he takes me to the ground, he's getting subbed. Better have taken me to the ground than better have been subbed. That's the way I'm looking at it. So yeah, we'll be hunting that. But for some reason, people don't actually my actual stand up. I've got like some really good stand up. Like, I've got power in my hands and I've got power in my legs. I'm a big guy. We all have power in our hands. So don't just say I'm this submission fighter, because I have definitely got this stand up, and it's getting better, and it's thanks to like my boxing coaches. I go to boxing gyms and I train boxing with like some of the best boxers in Scotland. I then go to kickboxing gyms and spar with kickboxers. Like, the two guys I spar with are like in the top 10 of the European rankings for cruiserweight and middleweight and kickboxing. These guys are animals. So I'm sparring with these guys. I'm doing the same with the wrestling. I'm doing the same with the jiu-jitsu. I'm fighting guys who are like really highly skilled. Right, they might not be MMA fighters, but I'm doing every sport individually. That's what, for me, mixed martial arts is.
Brilliant.
So, yeah, I'll be hunting down some of that extra candy.
50 G's, December 17th in Sacramento. Paul Craig, it's been a real pleasure to have you on the show. On the website, on the show. Really looking forward to the fight, Paul, and do appreciate the time. Big congratulations again on being signed with the UFC. Where can the guys find you as well on social networks, Paul?
They can find me, Paul Craig, P Craig MMA. They can find me, Big Paul Craig, on Instagram. Facebook's just Paul the Bear Jew Craig. You know, there's always some funny videos up there. There's some funny videos of me dancing. I don't take myself too seriously. Life's too short to be too serious. So go on and you won't be disappointed. As well as you can catch me on the Bareback podcast. #KeepItBareback.
What a name.
Just me talking, me and my coach talking. We bring in some guys within our industry, if it's boxers, physios, or just guys in our local area who are doing really well. Some pro wrestling as well, man. We quite like it, pro wrestling. So check us out on Bareback as well. Definitely check it out, Paul. Real pleasure. Do appreciate the time, my friend. And best of luck December 17th. Thank you for your time, my friend. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you on the flip side. Definitely. Cheers, Paul. Really appreciate it, man. Good to speak.